Hello, Jovan.
Hi, Moctar. We don't have a fire, but we should make a fire in our discussion. I'm sure. It's great to have you here. For those of you who do not know, Moctar has been leading for quite some time digital agenda in African Union. He was head of a communication department at the African Commission, and making a pause, retiring formally, but not retiring de facto. He has now more time to focus on his favorite subjects, including building capacity on African states to participate actively in digital diplomacy. And what we have been hearing today, Moctar, is that Africa is missing from the forums, places, negotiating tables on digital policy. Is it just my impression from today's discussion? What would be your answer? Is Africa present in global digital negotiations and processes?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity given. And as you say, I will still active a little bit in the area of my personal passion, which is Africa. Though I have retired formally from the African Union Commission a few weeks ago. To be really diplomatically correct, Africa is not enough present. Most of our member states are not really participating in the debate relating to cyber diplomacy. We have a very good examples in a few countries that are shining in the space. However, that is not enough, because as certainly dictated by the context of digital economy, digital space, digital interactions, the country's individual performances are not relevant anymore. Which is important is all countries need to participate. We win together or we lose together. And this is the thing that should really motivate African countries. They need to be more present, and to be more provocative, they are not enough present at this point of time. Okay,
Moctar, Africa is missing, and it's a major problem, not only for Africa, but also for the rest of the digital world.
Indeed.
If you have such a big actors missing from discussion on cybersecurity, e-commerce, and other issues, we have a problem of legitimacy, inclusion, and ultimately effectiveness. What would be your ideal scenario? How do you see, let's say, in 5 years' time, what you would like to see when it comes to Africa and global digital policy?
Yeah, you said it right. And as most of the speakers have insisted on the issue of cooperation, the issue of integration, the issue of interoperability has been raised by many of the speakers. Ambassador Idris from Egypt was trying to say that nobody has to be left behind. And indeed, if we apply what he has said in the network settings, we are all in the global network, and the network is as strong as its weakest links. And hence, Africa should not be the weakest link of the global digital space in general. My ideal situation is to see for the next 5 years that to see Africans not having only diplomats that are very knowledgeable about the issues related to cyberspace, but also digital leaders and digital diplomats. People need to know more. It's not about one. Teresa said something that this event is not only one event, but it was a process. That process has to be continued. The African Union Commission and other institutions have been trying to build capacity, but the sustainability of that capacity building, the link between the diplomats outside of the capital city and the capital city is still broken. It is very important to reestablish that link and to make sure that the knowledge that will be conveyed to and from those diplomats is something that is substantial and contributing to the global debate.
Moctar, to quote the famous saying, to summarize African saying, that if you want to move fast, you go alone. If you want to move far, you go with the others. Therefore, that's your point. Process, moving with the others, and seeing what you can do along. But let's do a reality check. And this is reality check not only for small and developing countries, but I would say quite a big countries, with exception maybe of two countries, United States and China. Maybe European Union is over there. What realistically small and developing country in Africa can do to actively participate in discussion on algorithms and artificial intelligence? Even I know we have always asking, have open source, have the transparency in the code. But if you get 2 billion lines of code from the Google, who can? And I'm questioning even in the United States and China, if they can. There is a question how to find this realistic approach where, in this case, African countries, but it's applicable to many other countries,
Indeed,
can make some difference. And what would be priority areas?
Well, you see, one of the major advantage the Africans and most of the developing countries do have either youth dividend, the youth dividend. We have a lot of youth people, young people who are willing really to contribute to this general process. Now, somebody mentioned here that we are in the era of adaptability, the era of survivability. In fact, the common and the social intelligence, putting all our effort together, are that something that probably will be helping the African countries, by the way, whether they like it or not, whether they call deeply for it, the developing countries will have to participate actively into the digital diplomacy and the digital dialogue. So those lines of code and so on, if you put your effort together, if every country has put that intelligence together, we'll be able really to, if I may, apply the proxy processes, the proxy way, we could be able to mandate specific countries and specific institutions to deal with those global issues like artificial intelligence, like the blockchain issues, everything related to digital economy, all those issues related to cybersecurity and cyber diplomacy could be done in a very substantial way. Mind you that the African Union in 2012 has adopted a very good resolution aiming at having specific institutions and specific countries representing them into different setups, because they are not able at this point of time to all of them participate, but reporting back and providing what we call intra-capacity building and intra-capacity cooperation in order to have the African Union or the African countries' voice heard in the cyberspace.
Moctar, you came to the key points, and I can see a few colleagues from African region, including one military representative, Colonel Fanaka Chidaka, and it's great to have more participation. But my question here is how you can coordinate that effort. This is an excellent idea to have, let's say, Rwanda being in charge of drones, because Rwanda pioneered the regulation on drones worldwide. Let's say Ghana is good on knowledge inclusion. You have many countries developing their niches.
Indeed.
How to nurture that, and in particular, how to put it in the regional context?
Now, the regional economic communities and specialized institutions under the guidance of the African Union would be able really to create that synergy and that coordination. But the African Union needs to be empowered more, and those regional economic communities need to be empowered. And they have also to use the intelligence they have outside of the continent. There is a lot of good Africans, good institutions, like neutral institutions like Diplo, like GFCE, like any other neutral institution that can really provide them with the technical support that will allow them really to participate fully in what is actually needed within the cyberspace.
Moctar, a few issues are coming out of our discussion. Need to build capacity now and as with high urgency to address immediate needs, but also to develop it having in mind long-term perspectives. One point. Second point, which is very interesting, I think it's unique input from you, is this specialization with coordination, therefore sharing the burden. And third point, which you mentioned, which is particularly interesting for me, it's related to multi-stakeholder approach. You have very young digital population. you have African continent have very, very strong diaspora, people studying worldwide computer science. Is there any way to have that element of digital and diaspora diplomacy helping African countries to be represented? Having smart, you're from Mauritanian, smart Mauritanian who is studying on cybersecurity in Europe, China, US, and being called by your government to represent in digital meetings like open-ended working group or UNGG, helping the diplomat from Africa with technical support. What about this third emerging element?
Now, the one, as you said it rightly, is putting together those intelligence under the coordination of institution is actually crucial. The one is all based on vision. If we do have visionaries, people who are willing, everything is in place. People are in place, the knowledge is in place, but we need leaders, the visionaries who are capable to tape on those opportunities offered to the Africans and make them work together. That requires changing the mindset of thinking. It's not now about one country performing. It's about all of us performing together. And for that, we need a visionary leaders, digital leaders, to be able to bring all those forces together and make them work as we are moving for something we have been seeking for many years, the unity of Africa, the integration of Africa, and the contribution of Africa as per the African Union vision, which is a prosperous Africa that is taking place into the international debate. When you look at the vision of the African Union, it is actually stated that Africa should be peaceful, prosperous, and participating into the international dialogue. Leaders need to implement that. Visionary leaders, new leaders who are thinking digital rather than thinking the old way of doing things. That is the sine qua non condition to me.
Moctar, leadership is key. Is it emerging? Do you see seeds?
It is. There is, and like in many small countries I have seen in Europe and somewhere else, there is a new digital leaders emerging. And those leaders are the ones that will make the difference. They are the ones that will fill the gap, the digital knowledge gap. And those ones are coming. And I say, whether they will like it or not, it will come anyway. Because of the pressure, because of the requirement, because of the new setup, because of the new race of diplomacy, because of the reformings of blocks. Africa and Europe should be probably the one in the middle, bringing together the different blocks and have something rather than competing, cooperating, like somebody said during the previous sessions.
Moctar, an interesting point. Europe and Africa, even geographically,
indeed, that's what exactly I meant.
As a sort of third pillar in the.
If you don't put Australia in the middle, yes.
Okay. Then we'll keep geography for time being without changing it. Moctar, is there any way to promote these emerging leaders? Or is there a way to push the awareness by making a shocking information like what we have been quoting very often, that market capitalization of one company, Apple,
indeed,
is equal the annual GDP of the whole African continent? It's shocking. How we can support these inspiring leaders from local communities to the African Union, in addition to sending the wake-up call, hey, we need to do something. Something is risky and dangerous if the whole African continent GDP is equal to the market capitalization of one company.
I believe that the African leaders are now understanding that their future lays in the digital economy. They need to tape on the opportunities given to them by the digital economy to address their development differently. A few years back, you wouldn't think about a summit of the AU or the UN summit being held online, having voting online and so on. And now it's happening. Most of these institutions have been working online for the last 15 months. So basically, the COVID-19 was an electrical shock and a wake call for everybody to understand that the future in the digital economy. And hence, I believe that there is emerging leaders who are now understanding that ICTs and digital economy is the one to go for. And hence, once you are conscious about that, it is very now easy to put in place the whole mechanism that will allow Africa to participate in the global diplomatic digital debate.
Some good news, Moctar. I'm receiving signals that our Fireside chat fired some comments and discussions. Therefore, let's hear what's going on in the chat room.
But you didn't fire enough. I was expecting more firing from your side, as usual.
Thank you, Jovan. Thank you, Moctar. So the chat is really bubbly. So a lot of questions for Mr. Moctar. First of them, what do you see as missing link or difference between those countries in Africa that are active and participating and those who are not? And what do you think is a major factor accounting for this discrepancy?
Well, this discrepancy comes from the fact that most of the leaders still think the old way with regard to the diplomacy. But I am very optimistic by the fact that most of the African institutions are now getting into the fact that cooperations and coordination at the international level, which is actually embedded really into the different treaty that has been approved and signed and ratified by most of the member states. Most of the treaties are calling for harmonization. Most of them are calling for coordination of policies and regulation and the presence of and coordination of the African voice at the international level. So the discrepancy comes from the fact that there is no sustainable links between those who created the policies and those who are applying them now. But this COVID-19, as I said, is actually pushing more people for cooperating. And I believe they will be certainly cooperate more in addressing that issue of coordination of these voices in the international arena.
Moctar, I'm sure there are other comments and questions, but we'll take them in the follow-up to the session or during the coffee reception, which we'll have in Wonder. While we had this session, I was literally praying, sending good energy that Moctar connection will sustain, because Moctar is connecting from his home in Addis Ababa, and he doesn't have as robust connection as he has in his office in African Union Commission. But Moctar, today we were lucky. It worked very well. We heard you clear. Your message is clear both in terms of technology and content. Africa needs to be very active in digital foreign policy on digital governance, not only for Africa's sake, but also for the sake of the rest of the world. Without active participation in Africa, the world global governance will walk on one leg. We have these flags behind us, and the first immediate step what we can do is to connect Africa, to connect African missions in Geneva to this vibrant digital policy scene in Geneva. On the 9th of April, on 9th of March, just in 1 week, we are going to present very comprehensive study on capacity development done in cooperation with PRIDA and support of the European Union and the other actors. Therefore, exciting time ahead of us. For those of you who would like to pick up Moctar's brain and rich experience in the digital policy, you can continue in the WonderMe. The link is shared. Stay tuned with us. Diplo has and Geneva Internet Platform have been always focusing on development and capacity building, especially with regard to Africa and small island states. I invite all other actors, especially from developed countries, to support these efforts within their means, because by supporting inclusion of all countries worldwide, we are also supporting balanced, sustainable, and impactful digital world. With this, Jovan, I would like to thank you once more, Moctar, and we will continue in WonderMe.
Thank you for continuing the process.
Thank you.